Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. If you're a Christian, what do you do when times get tough? It doesn't matter whether we're talking about a health issue, a job issue, a family issue, or a spiritual issue. What do you do? Do you curl up in a ball and admit defeat? Do you get angry and begin to doubt God? Or do you stand up in faith and plead with God for deliverance? God is not far from each and every one of us. He is not deaf to the cries of his followers. Have you prayed, seeking his help or guidance? Or have you tried to solve issues solely on your own, often with poor results? David is a man whose faith is exemplified through his adversity. Let's learn a little bit more about that as we continue our study of Psalm 35. So if you have a Bible with you, turn to Psalm 35. We're going to be reading from verses 11 to 21. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So Psalm 35, beginning at verse 11. A Psalm of David. Fierce witnesses rise up. They ask me things that I do not know. They reward me evil for good, to the sorrow of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled myself with fasting, and my prayer would return to my own heart. I paced about as though he were my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one who mourns for his mother. But in my adversity they rejoice and gathered together. Attackers gathered against me, and I did not know it. They tore at me and did not cease. With ungodly mockers at feasts they gnashed at me with their teeth. Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue me from their destructions, my precious life from the lions. I will give you thanks in the great assembly. I will praise you among many people. Let them not rejoice over me, who are wrongfully my enemies, nor let them wink with the eye, who hate me without cause. For they do not speak peace, but they devise deceitful matters against the quiet ones in the land. They also opened their mouth wide against me, and said, Aha, aha, our eyes have seen it. As we said in the last lesson, this is a Psalm of David, likely written while he was on the run from Saul. This means that this is a psalm written about an early time in David's life, before his sin with Bathsheba. No mention is made of David's sin or punishment for sin, which is why we place this psalm at this period in David's life rather than in the period of him running from Absalom. It's not that David was self-righteous when he was younger. It's just that as he got older, he knew much more how he needed to depend on God's forgiveness for his sinfulness. As we come to verse 11, we find David pleading with God to move quickly in delivering him. We don't know exactly how long David was on the run from King Saul, but we do know it was quite a few years, and so I'm sure that David was beginning to be weary of running. He could have been home in Bethlehem. He could have even been made king by now if that's the Lord's will. David never doubted the Lord's deliverance, but like all of us, wanted those results to come sooner rather than later. David says that fierce witnesses have risen up against him and made false charges against him. I think of traitors like Doeg, who relayed to Saul David's actions with showbread. This action resulted with the death of most of the priests at Nob. There were other actions taken by other people, I'm sure, but David understood that his reputation was being attacked unjustly. David had done good. He had fought valiantly for Saul. He had protected Saul and been a loyal subject. And how was his good repaid? With evil, which brought David sorrow. When others were hurting, David went without. He prayed for them. He did them good. And now, when he was the one in trouble, many of those same people had abandoned David. In fact, many of them are rejoicing in David's adversity. Think about that for a moment. David, the man who slew Goliath, the man whom crowds celebrated as killing tens of thousands, was largely an outcast by society. Perhaps there were those who were thinking that David got what he deserved. They might have thought that this young kid really didn't earn the praise that he got, and that a little dose of humility would do him some good. And then, of course, there are people like Saul who genuinely thought of David as a traitor and wanted to see him dead. David asked the Lord how long would he look on and allow this to continue. You can hear the complaint in David's voice. However, with the very next phrase, we know that David isn't doubting the Lord's faithfulness, for he pleads for deliverance. Instead, he is asking the Lord to act now. Isn't it enough what he has suffered? Hasn't his name been dragged through the mud enough? Hasn't his enemies had enough glee with his predicament and allowed to be deceitful for long enough? Surely now, with David willing and able to give God thanks for what he has done, would be the time for God to step in and deliver David. The fact remains, we don't know during what part of David's run from Saul this could be referring to. This is obviously not the beginning, but is it near the end? Perhaps the answer to God was no. It was not enough yet. But perhaps it was, and we're getting towards the end of Saul's life. Whatever the case, we know that David did not lose his faith even in adversity. He prayed. He pled for deliverance, but he remained faithful. That is an example for us. Life is not always fun, but as long as we're living, we have another day to praise and thank God. We have another day to place our faith in the Lord, for we know he is faithful. And we have another day to hope for a time when all the suffering will come to an end in eternity. Let's not lose faith in face of adversity. Let our faith grow. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Psalms 35, verses 22 to 28, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.